Hi everybody, welcome to Tuesday Talk. Alright, let's get right into our discussion. Okay, the first question that I got was, were my parents controlling? How so? And are they still controlling today? Yes, 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 and yes. My parents are extremely controlling, and I don't think they really mean to be in a negative connotation type of thing. I feel like they just feel like they feel like they know best, and that they know best and I don't. Has it caused some issues between us? Absolutely. But one thing I could say was that they were very controlling, very, very strict. Well, I'll say this. My parents were kind of split because my dad is very, very passive, very, very laid back. He wasn't a big fan of whooping our butts and or whatever. He would fuss and then it would be over. My mom was the kind of person when she was mad forever and ever. Amen. You didn't know when you was gonna get hit, and you didn't know when the whooping was gonna come, and it just created a really bad um it borderlined on mm, it borderlined on going too far a lot of times, because that was how she was raised. And so my brother and I, we end up growing up being a lot closer to my dad because he wasn't really into embarrassing us, whooping our butts, and like the whole humiliation, type thing. And so yeah, and so that's why I think I started to develop my own type of parenting style based on how I was raised. Because one thing that stuck out to me as a child when it came to my mom, she was so strict and like ready to whoop your butt. Like I was terrified of her. And thinking about my little baby, I would be completely and utterly devastated if Viola was afraid of me. I want her to understand that mommy don't play, but I don't want her to be afraid of me like she's gonna hurt me type deal. And so a lot of times my mom has a horrible temper, and a lot of times she would discipline us when she was angry, which is like rule number one, no. You never discipline your child when you're angry, because a lot of times you end up going too far. And that happened to my brother and I on several occasions. And so we developed a lot of resentment for her as a result of, her type of child rearing. I personally will, my husband and I, we decided, we visit often, but we will refrain from allowing Violet to spend the night, spend any time, even our future children, because of her disciplinary views and how she disciplines. you know I won't put my kid in a situation like that. And plus, we decided that we want to be the only ones to discipline our child. We don't want anybody else to, because folks not going to take, you know, care like you and your husband would. And so, because of my childhood, no, I have like horrible trust issues when it comes to people. And so, every day we're trying to work at it and get better, but you forgive, but you don't forget. In the back of your mind, you're just like, okay, you know what I'm saying? And so, in regards to being controlling, my parents, one thing I can honestly say, they weren't so controlling that they didn't allow us to be kids. We went out, we went different places, we were able to do things. And I wasn't allowed to date until I was 16, but up until that point I could talk on the phone with a boy for a little while. Like, my parents weren't like, we grew up really, really, really religious, but it wasn't to the point where we were like closed off from the outside world, which I appreciated, because you never want your kids to be to sneak around behind your back. And a lot of that happened in our circle. A lot of kids who grew up in the same vein as my brother and I, A lot of them used to sneak off and do X, Y, and Z, and folks got pregnant, and folks got in trouble because their parents were so adamant against them not doing this, that, and the other, that they felt the need to go behind their backs. And that's one thing I appreciate and that I would adopt. You know, when Violet gets to be like that middle school age and starts noticing boys, you know, she will have monitored phone calls, you know, for 30 minutes or whatever, and then that's it. If he wants to come to the house and they want to sit in the living room, you know, with me off to the side, you know, and watch a movie or whatever, I don't have an issue with that. But she can't go nowhere with no boy until she's 16, and then that will be chaperoned as well, because nowadays the world is very different from what it was 20 years ago, and kids are so much exposed. It's like you don't know what they don't know, you know what I'm saying? You don't know what they know, and you don't want kids to be caught up in things that they're not ready for. And you know, my parenting style will be specific to the personality and to the maturity of each child. You never have the same parenting style for all kids, because all kids are different. Some kids you can spank, some kids you just have to talk to, some kids you just look at them crazy and they'll be like, okay, I'm gonna act right. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm all over the place and I do apologize. But let me get back to the controlling. But yeah, it was hard to break away sometimes, and even up to recently, my dad was pissed off because my car broke down. It didn't break down, but something was broken on it. And I just took it to the mechanic and had it fixed, paid for it and everything. And he was like, why didn't you wait for me? Why did you? And I'm just like, listen, I am 33 years old. I don't have to wait for you. If my car is broke, I'm going to get it fixed. I took a cab. I packed Violet up. I dropped my car off, took a cab to the airport, got a rental. I mean, I did it all by myself, you know. And so he was just like, why did you wait for me? And I was like, I don't have time to wait for you, you know. And that's the beauty of being independent. And thank God, you know, we're in a great financial place right now where I could do things like that. Just recently, today, I'm pre-recording this Saturday, May the 16th. For whatever reason, I woke up this morning, turned on my computer, and guess what? My computer would not turn on. I was freaking out. Don't know what's wrong with it. Couldn't. And it's a Saturday. Not many things are open. And instead of going crazy, and I had a funeral to attend later on that morning. And so, and also I needed to study, you know, get my schoolwork done. And I just didn't have time for my computer to be not working. I mean, it just wouldn't turn on. So what did I do? I got up early, 7 o'clock in the morning, went to Walmart and bought me another hard drive. Got me another hard drive. You know, I got the cheapest one in the building, but I got another one, and I'm back in business. And I'll take it to the computer shop on later on in the week and have them hopefully they can get it turned on. Have them clean it, take everything off of it, and put it on the CD so I can get my pictures and everything. But I was able to get that fixed without having to call my dad. And I know once I tell him about that, once he notices I have a new computer, he's going to be like, well, why didn't you call me? And all that. And I'm just like, you know, as we become more and more financially stable, you know, we are starting to take care of a lot of things on our own. Before that, when I was in my 20s, when we first got married, we struggled financially. Like, when I say struggled, I don't talk about it, you know, because it ain't nobody's business, and that ain't nothing that y'all come to my my channel to hear about my struggles. But still, you know, we struggled a lot financially. And just recently, we just got on our feet. My husband got a job making 3 times the money that he was making before. Thank you, Jesus. So we are able to do a lot more on our own. And part of my parents really can't handle it, you know, so it is going to take some time to wean them off and get them to the point where they'll say, you know, let her live her life, and we can suggest things, but don't get mad if I don't follow every single thing you say. So yeah, I'll get off of that. What is our parenting style? Well, I really don't know what our parenting style is going to be as of yet, because Violet is 9.5 months old, and so she's getting to the age where she's starting to throw temper tantrums, and I'm just, giving her a stern no, and, just tapping her little hand like, don't you do that, because she's into biting and stuff like that. And so far, it's working. I just talk to her really, really sternly, and she'll look at me real serious, and then, it'll be over and done with. And even a lot of times, if I see her doing something, or she wants to do something that she shouldn't do, or if I take something from her and she freaks out, I'll just pretty much redirect her. I'll have her do something else. I'll put her in her walker, or I'll give her something else to play with. I never just take things from her and just take it from her and be mean. I'll take something from her that she's not supposed to have, but I will replace it with something else that she would actually like to play with, but as far as what kind of parents we're going to be, I do believe in spanking. I know a lot of people don't believe in spanking. They don't believe in corporal punishment and all that jazz, and that's cool. You don't have to believe in it. It is what it is. I do, because I feel like some kids really do need that, because they're out of control. And I think if more kids would get their behinds popped, a lot of this foolishness that's going on would not be going on. But I won't be doing it for each child, because every child doesn't need to be spanked. Some kids, just like I said before, you can talk to them sternly, you give them a stern talking to, and that's a wrap. Some kids, you could talk until you blue in the face, and they're going to do what they want to do, and you just have to listen. You don't run it. You don't run it. Now, we can be best friends when you pay a bill. When you can contribute to the bills in the house, then you and I could be best friends. But until then, the Lord has entrusted me and your father to raise you up in the right way, and that means discipline. And we do follow the Bible. The Bible says, you spare the rod, you spoil the child. You know what I'm saying? And some kids, they just do need that rod. Not literally. Not a literal rod. Figuratively speaking. So yeah, that's just pretty much it. We're not going to be overly strict. I mean, we're going to be strict in the sense where we're going to have rules and regulations, and we're going to have lots of boundaries. And I really do believe, because, I am a future educator, I believe wholeheartedly, and from experience, I was a nanny for 10 years, children thrive off of structure and discipline. They really do. I was a nanny, and I never spanked. Even though I was allowed to spank, I never did, because they weren't those type of kids. But they know I'm not going to keep repeating myself. Now, I asked you to stop doing that. So now you get this taken away, you get that taken away, and then the next thing, I'm going to call your mama. You know what I'm saying? They're like, oh, yeah, because they know their mama was going to get them. But, I developed different types of structure, ways of doing things, so that they can learn responsibility. They can learn how to function on their own. I really do not agree with this society where these kids are growing up with this weird sense of entitlement, where they feel like the world is just their oyster, and that things are just going to be handed to them left and right. It's not so. Number two, they're not going to stay with the parents forever. You have to instill certain skills and certain types of certain things that, like, for instance, a lot of people have issues with giving their kids chores, and I feel like I've seen both sides of the consequences of kids not having chores to do. And chores meaning keeping your room clean, folding up your clothes, sweeping the floor, keeping your surroundings clean, washing the dishes, preparing a very, very simple meal like peanut butter sandwich, put something in the microwave and heat it up. I was a supervisor for a restaurant for 6 years, And I used to employ teenagers and young adults that have never washed a dish in their life, have no clue how to do it, don't know how to mop a floor, don't know how to sweep a floor. And that is utterly ridiculous. Why? Because they weren't required to do so. And so it made them socially weird and socially awkward. You know, I had one person come to work looking a hot, holy mess and smelling like one. Why? Because my mama didn't wash clothes today. Why do you look and smell that way? Why do you still have on dirty clothes? Oh, my mama ain't washed. What the heck you mean your mama didn't wash? How old are you? 21. You waiting on your mama to wash? Why you ain't washed? I don't know how to do laundry. What? This is the crap I'm talking about. You got kids that have no clue how to function on their own. You know? Because they were never required to. That's not going to happen in my house. And I don't do gender roles or nothing like that. My sons are going to learn how to wash dishes and cook and wash clothes. You know, my daughters are going to learn how to cut the grass, weed eat the edges, and clean up a yard. Because one day they're going to be out on their own, and they may have to do those things. You may not be able to afford a landscaper. You may have to go out there with the lawnmower and do it yourself. My mother does it. As a woman, she goes out there with her lawnmower. My dad is too busy and she tired of the grass looking crazy. She'll go out there and she'll cut the grass. You know, I want our kids to learn how to do things on their own. So when they become 18, 19, and they go off to college, they don't be coming home every weekend or every so often with a bag of laundry. Why you didn't do that at the dorm? They have washers and dryers. I ain't washing your clothes. You know, but we will definitely instill life skills into our children so that they can function properly out in the outside world, and just prepare them and let them know, listen, you know, you can't, the club is fine, but let me tell you something, you know what's cool? What's cool is a person that's 21 years old, 21, 22, finished with their degree or trade or whatever it is, and they have a great job, their own little apartment and car, and you can do whatever you want. You can work Monday through Friday and just party the whole weekend. All you gotta do is sacrifice a few years of your life, getting your education and getting your little job and your trade settled. That's it. Sacrifice that little bit of time. 4 years will fly by. And you'll be out on your own, you'll be making great money, you know, and I want to instill that because I struggled so much, you know, because I had to learn a lot of things on my own because my parents were like, don't worry about it, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. And so there are a lot of things that I did not know, you know, because I moved out at 23, and I had to pretty much start from scratch, you know, so our parenting style is going to be an eclectic mixture of, you know, strict, a little bit strict, you know, but a little bit lenient too, because you want your kids to want to come to you and share things with you, and just, you want to have that relationship aspect of it intact, because them folks on the outside, they don't mean them any good at all. You want your kids to be able to come to you. You don't want them to be so afraid that if they're being pressured for sex, if they're being pressured to do X, Y, and Z, you don't want them to be like, oh, my mom is going to judge me, she's going to fuss at me, she's going to try to whoop me if I tell her about this. No, I want to be really, really, really open with them, you know, in a non-judgmental way. And I had to learn that because I, you know, grew up really religious, and so I was very judgmental. I had to lay that to the side because I had to understand that even though I have my views, I'm allowed to believe whatever it is that I want to believe. That is my right, you know, as an American, you know, tax-paying citizen. I can believe whatever I want, but also I may not agree with what others may do, think, or believe, but I respect it. I can agree to disagree, and I love that. You know, and so I want our kids to be completely open and completely just comfortable coming to us, but I want that respect, you know, as an elder, you know, to be established. Because if you look at other nations like the Asian nations, they're very respectful to their elders. Parents are revered, grandparents are revered. It's only in the United States where parents and grandparents are disrespected openly, with no kind of, just no thought, just cuss their mom out in public. That ain't gonna happen. Not in my house. Consequences and repercussions. Don't do it. I don't play that. And I have seen it. I have seen little children curse their mamas out, slap, kick, punch, they just act the plumb fool in public. And I'm like, I'm not gonna, oh, kids will be kids. No, no ma'am. Kids will not be kids. You can't expect children to behave. They have to be taught how to behave. They have to be trained how to behave, and especially with me learning about child development, I understand the different developmental stages of children, and that's why I don't freak out when Viola throws a fit or whatever. I just tap her, hey, stop, very, very sternly, because I want her to get, knowing that you can't act like that. Stop that. I cut it right then and there. I don't let her go completely left, because I don't want her to think that behavior is okay, so I try to stop it in its tracks. Okay, I'm done with that. All right, next question. How do we find alone time? Well, we find it whenever we can find it. Well, we usually just wait till Violet goes to sleep. Violet goes to bed between 7:30 and 8 p.m. When she goes to sleep, that is our alone time, and that is how we fit it in. Sometimes we have to do quickies and hurry up and get it done because she'll wake up, and sometimes we can just take our time and relax or whatever. And my mother-in-law, my husband's mom, she takes Violet for the whole day, and we'll either hang out, we love to go to the movies. We're very simple people. We love to go out to different restaurants, and we love to go to the movies. So that's pretty much what we do. And then we'll have our little adult time too, before she gets home, because it's nice when it doesn't have to be fast, like, oh my God, don't wake the baby up, like, let's go, let's hurry up and get it done, and so it's nice when you can just be relaxed, because you don't have to pick up your child for hours, and you can do whatever you want without having to worry about, oh my God, are you going to wake her up or whatever. So that's how we find alone time. How do I feel about homeschooling, public or private schooling? I don't feel no type of way about it. Personally, in our home, we will be sending our kids to public school, because I don't think there's anything wrong with public school, and number two, I just think private schools are overpriced. You have to take out 2 or 3 loans, and I just think it's just overly, ridiculous. I went to private school for 1 year, and I loved it. I loved it and hated it at the same time, but because of the whole uniform thing, and so other than that, I mean, we just we want them to have that social aspect of it, even though it's good and bad at school. You got the bullies, you got all this stuff. My husband and I are always available to deal with those situations when they come up, and I will be that proactive parent, because I was bullied horrendously in school, and so that kind of behavior I will not tolerate. I will call the news. I will do whatever I gotta do to get that situation to stop, especially if I'm dealing with a parent that is like, oh, kids will be kids and I'm not going to talk to my child. Oh no, yes you will. Because you're not going to brutalize go to school, get your education, have a good time with your friends, and come home. All that extraness is just, I'm not going to have it. And I just want them to have that school experience, to be able to sit back and say, oh, I went to this elementary school, I went to this high school, and, have friends, because my Facebook page is like 90% of people that I went to elementary school with, middle school, and high school with, and of course church, because we all went to the same church. And so most of the people that I've known, that I am friends with, I've known for over 20 years. So I want them to have that long-lasting type relationship with people, and I just think it's healthy, Now, if we come into some money, will we still send them to public school? Absolutely. 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 I don't think there's anything wrong with public school. But yeah. That's pretty much it. And so thank you guys for joining me on my Tuesday talk, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.